Today we're talking about the short term versus the long term. So I know that I get caught up in this all the time, and I'm sure that you guys are confronted with situations like this too, where a decision or making a decision leads you down a path where you can make a decision that either serves the short term or the long term. And usually this has to do with kind of big picture opportunities, or maybe it has to do with big picture directions that you want to take, or artistic projects you want to focus on. And there's only so much time in a day, and we can only focus on certain things at certain times. Maybe it's who you're playing with, maybe it's what projects you're on as a sideman, maybe it's the other things that you do in a day that allow you to be an artist, be a musician. And at some point we have to make different decisions about the short term and the long term, because there's reality. We all have our made up music reality that is sometimes this fictitious and mythical idea of what it means to be a musician. And then there's the day-to-day, there's the bills, there's the rent, maybe there's student loans from your education, maybe there's a day job that you keep in order to facilitate your art. There's all these different various situations for all people, and kind of trying to think about the short term. Is this a short-term decision or a long-term decision? What I mean is this opportunity maybe going to cause me a little bit of suffering in the short term in order to facilitate my end goal in the long term? And it's a really tough decision to make, to deny yourself the immediate gratification in order to allow yourself to really flourish in the long run. And for me, there's been a bunch of situations lately where I've had to think about that. And for me, I am trying to err on the side of the long term, because I don't want to just be a musician for this year. I want to be a musician for the rest of my life. And if I can do something that's going to allow me to facilitate a life in music, then I want to do it. And sometimes maybe that leads us on a circuitous path around to get to where we got to go, to get to where we want to go. But sometimes that's for the best, because you never know what things you might pick up along the way. So if you're in the middle of making a decision and you're trying to weigh all the options, make sure you're weighing the short-term effects and the long-term effects, because I think that they're different. And I think sometimes the things that we think about that are going to be negative in the short term actually end up being positives in the long term. And this is coming from a person that likes to plan and likes to think things through and likes to create goals and all the things you guys know that I like to talk about. But from my point of view, sometimes I find people handcuff themselves a little bit too much to the short term, and they leave opportunities on the table that could really help them out in the long term. And sometimes it does mean taking a little bit of a hit in the short term, and then maybe it means that you're not as free to do certain things, or you're not as available for any opportunities, but you are available for the ones that you do want to take. And I know this is directly relating to something that I've been going through the last couple of weeks. It's kind of something that's been on my mind, and I wanted to share with you guys. And I hope that you'll start thinking about things in both the short term and the long term in whatever decisions you're making, and thinking about taking a hit in the short term to make things happen in the long term, especially if you want to have a long career in music and not just a one and done. But maybe you do just want to do music for the next 5-10 years, be done with it and move on to something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. If this music thing is just one part of your career and you want to come, or maybe you want to take a break and come back later, there's lots of musicians that took a break, and we don't always talk about that. And I've kind of been thinking about all these different guys that did different things in music all throughout their careers. I hope that'll give you guys a little food for thought. I hope that you'll leave a comment about some of the things that you're thinking about, some of the opportunities that you're trying to dissect and trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, maybe as a community. Maybe by writing it, you'll find the light. You'll find the answer through sharing it with other people. I know that helps me to talk it through, and just to talk about the different ups and downs and the short-term and long-term effects. So thanks for being here, guys. My name is Nick Finzer. This is Create, Connect, Repeat. So stay tuned for another episode, same time next week.